Welcome to La Jolla Insiders, the video. I'm with Mike Mozaika, my partner in crime and co-founder of La Jolla Insiders. And we're here today to, give you more information about La Jolla, things that you wouldn't necessarily know upon arrival until somebody gives you a good guide. And that's what we're here to do, is to guide you. So give you some good insight as to what's behind the curtain and how to navigate our fine village. And that's what we call it, La Jolla, the village, or the jewel. There you go, a couple of things that the locals use for describing where we live. Michael, what's on your mind today?
Well, I thought today, Ron, we might talk about breakfast places. Seems like both the natives to La Jolla and the folks who visit, that's one of the first things on their mind. Where do I go get a good breakfast in La Jolla that includes good coffee?
Yeah, I would say so. Even though nutritionists say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, then there are others who say it isn't. But we consider breakfast here in La Jolla as important, not so much for the nutrition, but for in many cases, the conviviality and sociability of some of our dining places. And you've got a couple of favorite. You like Snooze a lot. You're a fan of Snooze.
Yes, I am, although I've been to many breakfast places in La Jolla, obviously, but Snooze is a place I often go to for business breakfast, and it works out very well. Snooze is relatively new to La Jolla. It's up in La Jolla Heights in the Villa La Jolla Shopping Center. And it's actually, it was established in Colorado. But they took a good hard look at La Jolla and said, this is a place to locate one of our restaurants. They have a really eclectic menu, which I love. I mean, you can find food for everyone there. I've had people there who order vegetarian or vegan or keto diet. If you tell them what your diet is, they'll have food to satisfy you. Me, I'm one of those fortunate folks. I just like food, so I can pick anything on the menu.
Food is good when you're hungry. It's a good resolution for hunger. You know what's interesting about one of the things that I find to be really fascinating about the Snooze is where it is, but how the benefits of the new trolley line from downtown San Diego to La Jolla. That's a major stop right there, and people jump off and hit that shopping center before they get to the big one at the end of the line. But right at that point, as you described it, to be La Jolla Square, and that's where Snooze is. So they're getting the best of traffic, in the sense not so much by people driving there, but by taking the trolley.
Absolutely true. Mm-hmm. And Snooze is characterized, at least in my view, by a very welcoming and friendly staff. And even though the faces might be different from week to week, they must have a superb training program because they really know how to serve people. And as I said, the menu is quite varied. One of my favorites is bravocado toast, which is obviously something like 7-grain bread with avocado and a mixture of tomatoes and pickled onions and things like that on it. And then it comes topped with an egg of your choice, either soft-boiled, hard-boiled, over-easy, over-well, whatever, or scrambled eggs on the side. That, I have to admit, is one of my breakfast favorites. And another one is blueberry pancakes with a side order of their bacon.
Yeah. Yum.
And you couple that with a cup of their absolutely great coffee, and you're great to go. It's a beautiful way to start the day.
Oh, it sounds magnificent, and I'm assuming the prices are fair for the college crowd, which is just around the corner. University of California,
yes.
San Diego is right there. A huge campus with 40,000 kids running around, and it's not that far away.
Absolutely true. So the prices have to be in line with something that they can afford as well. And you'll see a lot of young professionals there as well. So it's
an
a
interesting
good
part
mix.
of town. You've got La Jolla, which is right to the coast, and then inland to Freeway 5. That's kind of the limit of La Jolla proper. On the other side of the freeway is University City. That's what it's called, and I call it the condo farm. It's densely populated because of these high-rise condominiums. And again, Snooze is probably, as opposed to the restaurants within the Jewel village itself, they've got a huge audience to cull from as far as diners. That's my point. Okay?
Absolutely true. Yeah.
It's just a thought.
So it's high on my
favorite.
list.
What? High on your list? That's Snooz. And I have no idea why it's called Snooze. Oh, it is with an E? I thought it was just S-N-O-Z.
No.
Well, I dropped the E. The E I put back in, okay? Good. As far as the village itself, one of my favorite restaurants is Richard Walker's Pancake House. And guess what they serve there? Yeah, they serve some of the best pancakes I've ever dined on. My favorite on the menu, should you arrive, what you're going to be doing breakfast-wise is grab yourself an apple pancake right off the top. It's extraordinary, and it'll take care of anything as far as hunger pangs.
It's
right
also large.
Oh, yeah, it's big. It's a big sized apple pancake. And it's their own recipe, and it comes out of Evanston, Illinois. And that's where Richard Walker's began with his uncles. They had restaurants there, and his dad, one of the brothers, departed and moved to the West Coast when he retired. And he got bored in downtown San Diego and thought, I think it's time to build another restaurant. He was in retirement, Richard Walker Sr., and he opened Richard Walker's downtown and did well. And his son, who worked for a corporate company, it's Ernst Young. That's where Richard Walker Jr. came out of. And he got tired of East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast on planes. He figured he put in 1 million miles in 1 year, which I find to be an extraordinary time spent in the air. But he hit San Diego, visited with his dad. And his dad says, you know what you should do? Retire from that company and go into the restaurant business, family. And Richard Jr. thought, that's a good idea. So he traveled around and came into La Jolla, and there was an opportunity. There was a space open, and he took it. And that was 4 years ago. And he opened up this wonderful restaurant with a theory of when he trained his staff, that he gave them all the tools to do great service, because that's what they're known for. You get the great food and great service, very attentive staff, and he promised them all that this is just beginning, and his statement was, the best is yet to come, and it has been. He's already opened up another restaurant in the Flower Hill Mall, which is in Del Mar, which is just north of La Jolla, and they're doing box office, but of course they're again location. They've got a huge parking lot there. Unlike La Jolla itself, parking is kind of at a premium. So when you're here and staying in one of our great hotels, you're going to walk to this restaurant, as you can with the entire village itself. It's all walkable. So there you are, Richard Walker's Pancake House, a success story, a family business, and one that I think you'll enjoy. It's tasty. Okay, there you are. Michael, what do you got?
Well, I'd like to add on to that. It turns out that my wife's favorite at Richard Walker's are the cherry crepes. Genuine sour cherries, which are hard to find nowadays. And, I mean, they are just delicious. So she doesn't vary much from ordering those.
I haven't tried that. The Eggs Benedict is another one of my favorites. But that sounds good. I'll tell Phyllis next time I see her that by that time I should have sampled what it is she likes. That's a
one
good
of the other features.
Yeah.
One of the other features, Ron, which both Snooze and Richard Walker's share, is extensive, both inside and outside seating. So depending upon your likes, you can sit outside and watch the crowd go by, or inside and just enjoy that environment.
And you've got easily 9 months out of the year where the temperatures are wonderful for outside dining. At the wintertime, it's a little challenging, but this is not Minneapolis, so even the winter times are pretty mellow here. Yeah. And what else do you favor? What other restaurants for breakfast do you like?
Another place that actually I really enjoy both for breakfast and for lunch is Girard Gourmet.
Oh,
and
boy.
I know you're quite familiar with it. It's one of my favorite stops. I usually am there every Wednesday. And with a couple of my friends, we've made that a regular date time. And it's really interesting history. This couple, Francois and Diana, from Belgium, came over to this country and started the restaurant in Houston, Texas. That was their first location. And then after being in Houston for a while, 1987, they decided to relocate to La Jolla. And thank goodness, because it's just a wonderful place. And Francois and Diana are such wonderful people. Francois has to be one of the best bakers I've ever run across. Mm-hmm. And I'm a semi-expert in that field because I live. My wife is a fantastic baker as well, but I haven't seen anyone who beats Francois' baked goods. They're just outstanding. But their food offerings, which are farm to table, they have their own farm up in Julian, up in the mountains, and they take the produce directly from there and utilize that in their restaurant offerings. So, whether you're getting breakfast there, quiche, which I happen to enjoy for breakfast, or lunch, and with lunch, I think one of the best buys in La Jolla is the handcrafted sandwiches at Girard Gourmet. They, for slightly less than $10, you get a sandwich that's big enough to feed two people, at least two with my appetite, which is fairly decent. And, of course, they have outstanding coffee as well. But the selection that they offer on their menu, I have never seen as wide a selection as I have at Girard Gourmet.
If you're a pedestrian and you're wandering the streets of La Jolla, you'll come down Girard, which is kind of the main drag of La Jolla itself, and you can stop transfixed in the window of Girard Gourmet because it's displayed with confections and all sorts of pastries and things. Yeah. And as far as the configuration, when you go into the place, it's like a New York deli in that it's a narrow entryway, and one side is the wall, the other side is cases, cooling cases, and with all the pastries in it, and also the deli aspect. You can choose all sorts of wonderful foods yourself, and say, I want some of that, some of that, some of that. And Then you have the coffee and then the cash register. Then behind that, into the restaurant itself are the tables and chairs. And there's sidewalk dining, once again, al fresco. So we've got that kind of it's not a big place, but it's got a great menu, and Diana and Francois are just terrific people. And they're the jewels of La Jolla. We've got the jewel itself as far as La Jolla, but we've got gems. I guess I should say gems.
Yeah.
They're perfect. They're wonderful people. And you mentioned Julian, the farm-to-table thing. I think at this point I want to mention what Julian is. And it's in the mountains. It's about, 40 miles outside San Diego?
About that.
Maybe
It's
traveling east.
Yeah, but it takes a good probably hour and a half to drive there.
But I'm mentioning this is a day trip for anybody visiting La Jolla. This is something you've got to consider. Rent a car, or if you're driving, fine. You can head into Julian because it's an old gold mining town, and it's 1800s, and it's still pretty much what it looked like back in those days. And what they're known for are their apples, and you head there. I mentioned apple pancakes at Richard Walker's, but certainly in Julian, the apple pie is a must, and people travel great distances just to have the pie. Mm-hmm. So that's our Julian. That's a day trip for you. Put that on your agenda when you roll into La Jolla. So, adding that thought, I'm moving on to, if you don't mind, to another one. Breakfast, Sugar and Scribe. Just a matter of fact, just a couple of days ago, I had brunch there, and it was terrific. Eggs Benedict with the sliced potatoes, and it was beyond belief. And I've never had potatoes. It was almost to scalloped quality, scalloped potatoes, but it wasn't quite. It was fried, but it had the sense that as far as the seasoning, it was just wonderful. And thinly shaved ham under the poached egg on the wonderful bread bun. It wasn't toast. It was the thing about Sugar and Scribe. We're talking just like La Jolla, Girard Gourmet, in that bakery is very important there. The food, coupled with the pastries, are produced by a woman named Maeve. Her first name is Maeve, and she's Irish, and she just, pre-pandemic, was featured on a cable cooking show, a competition, and she made the best cake, and she won the entire series as far as the shows. It was, I think, maybe 6 shows getting to that point of her taking the trophy. And she's ours. She's right here in La Jolla, and I can actually say an award-winning baker. And she's quite a nice woman. And her husband and she run the place, and they've got a great staff. And once again, outside dining is primary with them. They have interior, but I would think that you go there, you'd want to elect to sit outside. It's just terrific. So, Sugar and Scribe, put it on your list of must-bees for breakfast. Michael, what else have you got? Let's do one more.
Well, if you happen to be an early riser, which I am, and I also love
brunch is my favorite. I'm a brunch guy.
I also love to watch the ocean early in the morning and take a walk along the boardwalk by the ocean. I go to Brick and Bell in La Jolla Shores, and there are 2 locations, one in downtown La Jolla, one in La Jolla Shores. And they open at 6:30, and I'm usually there at that time. And you can get some of their outstanding scones or muffins and a nice cup of Brick and Bell coffee, or you can get an egg sandwich if you're so inclined, which they'll handcraft for you, or scrambled eggs, and either sit at one of their outside tables, which are tree shaded, or take it down to one of the benches facing the ocean on the boardwalk at La Jolla Shores, and just enjoy your breakfast while watching the early morning surfers out there, and some brave swimmers out there in the cool of the morning. So I would put that on the list for those who are inclined to early morning.
Brick and Bell is right in the heart of the village, as well as in the shores. That's a location as well for those people who are. We've got two sections, actually three. We have an area called Bird Rock, which is just south of the village itself, and then into the La Jolla shores, which is a bit of a drive from the central portion of La Jolla. It's still La Jolla, but it's its own section. It's its own shopping district, and there are restaurants galore there as well. And so if you stay at a hotel in the shores, and there are several, the Shores Hotel being one, coincidentally, and Hotel La Jolla being another. So we've got two locations right there in the shores. So either way, you're not going to miss the experience of La Jolla and the restaurants, which is what you're looking for within a walkability. Okay? So that's the shores. Brick and Bell is owned and operated by a German immigrant named Peter Schumacher, or Schumacher. And he's developed something very, very special in the village itself. In the shores, it's what it is for that bunch, but here in the central portion of La Jolla, as Mike said, it's great for coffee and it's great for food. And the scones, we have to mention the scones. He's known for his scones. And the bakery bunch gets in there at 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning, and they bake everything fresh. So when you're there at 6:30, it's still warm, and it lasts through the morning, barely, because by noon typically they're sold up.
Yeah,
and I'm there to help them with the depletion of their scone quantity. But that's just a little bit of background for you there. And the seating, it's outside. There's a couple of, maybe one table inside, but it's outside again. As Mike said, the patio at the Silverado Street location, and it's actually a meeting place for the locals too. So that's what you've got. Just like you're looking for on the road when you're traveling, you'll watch where the truckers eat because you get the best food there. The same thing for the community of social community here in La Jolla at the Brick and Bell. Every morning, the regulars are there. So you plug in, and it's a friendly bunch. And if you're visiting, conversations can be had with the say, hi, I'm new here and just wondering a little bit about La Jolla. And you'll find that there's a lot of willing people to tell you about La Jolla and the place they love just as much as Mike and I do. So there you go. That's just some of the restaurants we favor. But we've got more, and we'll cover that in our next segment of La Jolla Insiders video. Until then,